Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Very good episode of NXT from November the 12th, 2024. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode of NXT. The first one I thoroughly enjoyed in a long time. So we're going to get into that, and then later in the show we're going to talk about the updates from WWE ID, this program that has so many people sizzling in their socks, which is really ain't that big a deal when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. But NXT is more important, so we're going to start with NXT. If you're interested in the WWE ID stuff, it will be later in the video. Match 1, Stephanie Vaquer and Julia defeat Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. I actually enjoyed this match. Steph and Julia win with the EVP trigger, which I'm calling the NXT trigger, which is the double knee strike to Jakara Jackson. A really great spot with Jakara and Lash, where Jakara jumps off Lash's shoulders. I know they did that spot before, but it looked really good here. Stephanie Vaquer, I mean, she's really high level. I mean, she's next level in terms of performance. I generally thought Julia would be better because, I don't know, I guess I have that stereotype about Japanese female wrestlers, but Stephanie Vaquer is amazing. I mean, she's really a high-level female wrestler. Julia's not bad, but Steph is like far and away next level. Of course, the issue is going to be the language barrier for both of them. This seems to be that they're opening up the opportunity for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, which never should have gone in the first place. NXT is the only brand where I'm okay with, you know, the women having so many opportunities, so many belts and things, because they're typically actually used. And there are enough talented women for the championships to go around. Unlike the main roster where you see the same 4 women every week. So why in the world would you introduce a singles championship when you don't actually use any of the undercard women in anything that matters? At least on NXT, they do. They actually do use the women in stuff. Case in point, the Iron Survivor Challenge. We're going to do the women first, and then we're going to get into the men. The women's Iron Survivor, they had Sol Ruca versus Cora Jade, which I was surprised by, because Sol Ruca won the match clean with the Soul Snatcher. Now, the reason why I was surprised by this, it was because I believe that since Cora Jade was returning, that she would get a moderate push. At the same time, though, it makes sense for Sol Ruca to win because Cora Jade's partner and her friend is the champion, and that's what you get if you win. You get to face the champion. So I guess it makes sense that Sol Ruca would get in. Maybe they'll do some kind of last chance thing, and Cora Jade will get in, because I certainly think Cora Jade should be in this match. This is one of those things where I think it's unfortunate that somebody had to lose, because I think both of them should be in. Sol Ruca, of course, is phenomenal. She's a phenom in the ring in terms of what she can do. She was doing these springboard cross bodies and then a springboard shoulder tackle. It didn't look that great because Cora wasn't great for being in position or bumping for it. But the match in and of itself was perfectly fine and nothing to complain about. I thought it was pretty good, actually, considering. I think this was the only women's Iron Survivor match on the show, if I remember correctly. You're looking at my list. I believe it is. So then you got the men's Iron Survivor. Match 1, Wes Lee defeats Cedric Alexander. This match was also very good. It was probably the longest match on the show, too. A little miscalculation by Cedric Alexander early as he jumped over the top rope. Completely missed Wes Lee. He's a little bulkier than he used to be, a little heavier. Not fat, just heavy. He might be bulking up. Kind of miscalculated the jump. Missed Wes Lee completely. But they were kicking out of each other's finishers, which It's modern wrestling now. I thought Wesley's finisher was the cardiac kick, but Cedric Alexander kicked out of it, so I guess it's not. I guess what is a finisher these days anyway? I guess it's not a finisher until somebody kicks out of it. Ultimately, the gimmick was an environmental finish. Wesley had yanked the middle rope turnbuckle off, and then he kicked Cedric Alexander into it, followed up with the meteor or pinned him. Wesley being in the Iron Survivor Challenge, absolutely the right decision. This was a good match. It shows that Cedric Alexander is not washed. I mean, he might miscalculate. He has to account for being bigger than he was 3 or 4 years ago. But he can still go, So I liked seeing this. This was really good. Thoroughly enjoyable. The next match on the list was Javon Evans versus Lexis King, which is Iron Survivor Challenge, and Javon Evans actually wins this match with the Tornado Splash. They're continuing Lexis King's story of him being gifted opportunities to win matches for underhanded ways, and him refusing to participate in that. In this match, he mistakenly hit Javon Evans in the nuts with his head. He headbutted him in the balls, but then refused to take advantage of it. And of course, that ended up costing him the match, as he lost the match clean later. I'm not sure what story they're telling here with Lexis King. I'm guessing he's going to have to break the rubber band and go back to being dastardly in order to win. He might have to go back to being worse than before in order to win, because he's done nothing but lose ever since they started this face run for him. Javon Evans, yeah, he's the front runner to actually win the Iron Survivor Challenge. I definitely think he probably should be the guy that goes over in that match. He's the guy who has the most fan interest. I'm not sure if it's emotional investment yet because he can't really talk, but there is a lot there when it comes to Javon Evans that I think was willing to push him to the next level. So here's hoping that he does well. I don't know if he should win. I would say he should probably win the Iron Survivor match. Okay. So they did a segment with Carmen Petrovich backstage with Ashani D. Adonis, and she was thinking about him while talking to that big Dion dude who has been around forever, yet he doesn't do anything. So Ashani D. Adonis believes that she was trying to mac with his best friend, and Dion is like, "We best friends?" And he was like, "Yeah, since like last week." So they end up making a mixed tag match between the four of them. It's going to be Carmen and Ashani D. Adonis working together to work out their problems against Dion. I forget what his last name is, and Brentley Reese. There's 4 baby faces in this match. At least I think so. Maybe technically Ashani D. Adonis is a heel still, but he ain't done nothing that I dislike. Like he ain't done nothing that I don't like yet. I guess maybe Carmen Petrovich is kind of a heel. Kind of. But not really. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be the official turn for Carmen and Ashanti. And they're about to do this ebony and ivory black gimmick. I like it. It's going to get people upset. I love it. Carmen Petrovich will also be making an appearance at Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which is very cool. He likes bringing in martial artists, and Carmen Petrovich has a karate background, so that ought to be interesting to see how that works out. I think this is the second time she's done this. I think. I'm not sure. Can't remember. Ava had a round table for the tag team division. She's trying to see who's willing to step up to stand out and face Axiom and Nathan Fraser. This led to all the teams essentially picking fights with each other throughout the show. And ultimately, the big brawl at the end of the show, where all the tag teams were fighting against each other. Hank and Tank and OTM and TNT and all those guys were out there fighting. It just all felt generic. It didn't feel like anybody really stood out in all of this brawling. And while all of this is going on, Nathan Fraser is deciding he's going to go work a Iron Survivor qualifier, which upset Axiom because Ava has lit a fire under all of the tag teams, and you pick now of all times to go back to trying to be a singles wrestler. And he's like, no big deal. Again, they're slow rolling the breakup of Axiom and Nathan Fraser, but there's nothing special about any of these tag teams. They're trying to make it seem like it's a real deep division, but it ain't really all that deep. It's seemingly just a bunch of jabroni teams like TNT and Hank and Tank. And then there are teams that should probably be booked better, like OTM. And then there's Gallus, just been there forever. Not much in the way of intrigue from the crowd when it comes to Gallus. Like, nobody really cares. And then you have Tony D'Angelo's family, which people seem to like and could be a really fun tag team to work with if they were to be the ones to come out as the number one contenders. But this feels like it's a setup for another team to come in and win it. Josh Briggs brought in that Japanese guy, Inamura. I'm not looking forward to that at all. Not looking forward to that at all. I don't know what to think about this guy. I've never seen him before. I never bothered to look him up. It's just, he's involved with Josh Briggs, which it does not bode well for him. It doesn't bode well for the kid, man, to be dealing with Josh Briggs. So I'm hoping that Tony D'Angelo's family comes out of this thing looking stronger and looking better than ever, because that's the tag team I have the most interest in. I really don't care about the rest of these teams, if we're being honest. Speaking of Tony D'Angelo, his dinner was interrupted by Shawn Spears. Let's get to the chase. I don't want to talk about him longer than I have to. He claims that he's hungrier than everybody else. He needs to feed himself to a wolf. That if as hungry as he says he is, I'm sure there's a wolf somewhere in northern Michigan that has an empty belly because somebody just shot up all the deer. He needs to just crawl through the snow. Well, there ain't no snow up there yet, at least not yet, and just throw himself into the wolf's mouth. That's the best usage of Shawn Spears. What a worthless professional wrestler. Anyway, the purpose of this is that he wanted to get Brooks Jensen to fight Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo says, why don't you fight me yourself? Why you got that kid fighting for you? Like, I think him and Brooks Jensen are around the same age. He's like, get that kid doing. I'm like, okay. So Brooks is upset because he's on Shawn Spears' side. I don't know if that's his... I don't know what their relationship is, to be quite honest. It's kind of like a cult, but not really. But Brooks Jensen is willing to fight on behalf of Shawn Spears. And it seems like that's the gimmick, is that Shawn Spears is not going to try to win the title. He wants the title to be given to him. Like, Brooks Jensen wins it and then he delivers it to Shawn Spears. I think that's what they're going for here. Similar to, when Ted DiBiase had Andre the Giant win the WWF title and then sell it to him. Is that the situation we're going to have here, where Jensen's going to wrestle for the North American title, not win it, but let's say that he does, he's going to give it to Shawn Spears? Or is that what I was supposed to get out of this promo? Because I didn't get out of this promo that Shawn Spears was wrestling himself. Praise God. But I'm just saying. They also have a new guy. I think the guy's name is Nico. He was the driver. And he looked menacing. He looked like a big, scary guy. I don't know who he is. Never seen him before. So, there's that. Trick Williams was in the ring. He called out Ridge Holland. Instead, he got Andre Chase. Andre Chase came out there, and Trick Williams forgot what he was talking about and decided to glaze Andre Chase a little bit. Talking about how much he respects him and recognizes everything he's done for NXT and Chase University. And says that Andre Chase has done pretty much everything in NXT except become the NXT champion. And he offered him an NXT championship match. Now that brought out Ridge Holland. Then Ridge Holland claimed that Trick Williams was ducking him because he pinned him in front of the world and embarrassed him knows that he's a real threat to the title. Andre Chase wants to fight Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland is not interested. So Andre Chase put up Chase University. If he wins, he gets Chase University. He said no. And so, which was stupid. Like, that was dumb. So Ridge Holland has no interest in fighting Andre Chase under any circumstances at this point. So then Trick Williams suggests a number one contenders match between the two of them. And to get Ridge Holland to accept it, Andre Chase actually put up Chase University again, but this time the dissolution of Chase University. That if Andre Chase loses, this is the end of Chase University. The end of his relationship with Thea Hale and the rest of them. And he actually accepted it. So, wow. Later in the show, Andre Chase is surrounded by Thea Hale, Riley Osborne, and Dirk Dutch, his name, Duke. He named after like a golden retriever. I should have remembered that. And anyway, he's surrounded by all these people who are very upset about him once again gambling away Chase University. Once again, upset that he is willing to risk Chase University. And Andre Chase says that Chase University was built on risk. It's all about taking risks. And he said he basically took a risk on all of these people. And this time is him taking a risk on himself to achieve something he's never had an opportunity to achieve. And that has become the NXT champion. And I've said it a couple of times here. Chase University is one of the longest running stories in WWE. It's up there with the Bloodline with how long it's been running. Chase University has been going on since at least 2020. I'm pretty sure it was 2019 also, but it's been going on since at least 2020. And are they really going to kill this angle off? Are they really going to kill off Chase University for Ridge Holland? Now, I don't see it. I see that maybe Ridge ends up in the Iron Survivor Challenge. That's probably a better usage for him. And now that I think about it, I got to kind of take away what I said before about Javon Evans winning the Iron Survivor Challenge. Maybe that's what Ridge does. I'm thinking since he lost the ambulance match, Andre Chase wins this match and he wrestles Trick Williams at Deadline. And that could be a huge match for the NXT universe because it's the two biggest baby faces on the roster, which is Andre Chase and Trick Williams, with the third being Javon Evans. As much as I don't like the idea of doing face versus face, the Iron Survivor Challenge is the main event. So, I mean, at least it was last year when they did the Iron Survivor matches. Those were the main events. So I'm not sure it matters if Andre Chase wrestles Trick Williams and loses. I'm not sure it matters. But it certainly does matter if he wrestles Ridge Holland and loses. If Ridge Holland was to beat Andre Chase, 4 people have to change their gimmick. And while that's an intriguing suggestion, because you can argue Chase University's been going on for too long, and it's time, especially for somebody like Thea Hale, to do something different. It's very successful. I know they sell merchandise. I've seen people walk around in Chase University hoodies in person. Like literally, when I went to TNA, there was people wearing Chase University hoodies. So I've seen people wearing the merchandise. This has been going on for a long time. Is it out of juice? Are they trying to trade in on the last bit of Chase University? I think that if they were going to dissolve Chase University, it would probably be a pay-per-view match that would do it. Not a match on TV. But at the same time, I am incredibly intrigued by the idea of Andre Chase losing, Chase University having to be dissolved, the end of the student section, the end of Riley Osborne being sort of generic, the end of Thea Hale running around in a circle. I'm kind of interested in that. I'm not sure Ridge Holland is the guy I would do that for, because I'm not sure what his upside is. But willing to sacrifice a 4-year angle to Ridge Holland, if they were to do that, you would have to put the belt on him, wouldn't you? I would imagine you would have to if he ends Chase University, which is one of the top acts on NXT. So I'm really on the fence about this. And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because now I can really consider what's going on here. Next, we got Nikita Lyons versus Adriana Rizzo. I am officially pushed into the Nikita Lyons needs help section. She did not look good here. She did not. She was out of position. She was slow. She couldn't really sell. I think she's too big. I gotta take my Gooner hat off. I gotta put my wrestling analyst glasses on. She's just not good. She's big, she's slow, and it's almost Nia Jax level at this point. She worked a full Nelson throughout the match, which was not bad, but I think Baby Girl just might got a little too much weight. I know the injury, she hadn't been able to work out as much, but I think Baby Girl just walking around with too much weight. It's slowing her up. It's gassing her out. Adriana Rizzo is okay. She's more athletic than I thought she was. She's a little bit more fiery, which I appreciated. Nikita Lyons actually won the match with the Vader Bomb. I don't know what she's calling it. And then after the match, Adriana Rizzo hit her in the head with a crowbar. That's something. And this is the second week in a row, okay? Second week, last week, somebody got hit in the face with a brick, and they just kept going. This week, Nikita Lyons got hit in the head from behind with a crowbar, and then she didn't lay flat. She was dazed, Now, I guess that's a respectful way to sell it, but I would have preferred a face plant, and her just being out of it. I think I would have preferred that to what we got in the way of how she sold it. But we can see that it's not over from Rizzo's perspective, or at least this was her revenge. I'm okay with that. I'm still a big proponent of Nikita Lyons and her being fine as she want to be. But I think Baby Girl just might be too big in terms of wrestling. She's a little too heavy. I don't know what's going on. It's affecting her abilities. Okie dokie. So I guess that's all that's left is the main event. Jada Parker wants to be in the Iron Survivor. I have no doubt in my mind she's probably going to end up winning it for the women. She's a great choice. They actually teased Julia and Stephanie Vacker both being in the Iron Survivor match too, which, I think we all assume they're both going to be in it. And they assumed that they're going to be in it and that they're going to have to fight each other and they're ready for it. But I'm thinking Jada Parker is probably going to be the favorite coming out of that match. She's probably the most over. She's not the most accomplished, but she's certainly the most over. And, next to Julia and Stephanie Vacker. So, the main event, which was very strange because they told us earlier in the night that Kalani Jordan was very anxious about her match. And JC Jane, because, she's the super senior, she showed up and says that Kalani's not going to win. And if she thought she is, her or Jasmine's going to make sure it doesn't happen. Which seemed like, they're going to plant a seed for somebody to come out there and stop them from cheating. But no, they did exactly that. Kalani Jordan lost to Fallon Henley because JC Jane and Jasmine Nix continued to interfere in the match. And the thing that frustrated me, the match was fine. The match was good. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. But what frustrated me is that it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago where Kalani Jordan had all the friends in the world. She had more friends than she could count. This week, she got no friends. Nobody came out to help her. She was outnumbered 3-1. Nobody did anything. Not Stephanie, not Julia, nobody. Nobody showed up. Not Zarya. Nobody showed up. Not Jordan Grace. Not Rob Van Dam. Not even no men, no women, nobody showed up. Oh, that was frustrating for me. Because it's like, oh, the criminal is going to tell you what they're going to do, and then you just sit back and let them do it. That was crazy. That's crazy. Clearly, they're probably going to set it up for another match between the two of them, but I don't know. Maybe it's time for Kalani Jordan to go up and wrestle Rox. Put her in the Iron Survivor Challenge too. But they typically don't do that with NXT. Typically, once you have your run somewhere, they try to work you out. So, like, Obafemi disappeared for the last couple of weeks. I think it's maybe time for Kalani Jordan to disappear for a little bit. I love her, though. She just needs a personality. That's the only thing she's missing. She's like the girl Wesley. Very athletic, but personality is wanting. Just really down bad in terms of personality. There needs to be something done there. There needs to be an edge added to her persona. And I think losing and being screwed by Fatal Influence would do that. It would add to her character. It should anyway. In what way? I don't know. But we got to figure it out. At this point, it seems ridiculous to me that she wouldn't have anybody in her corner for this match. Okay. So that's the show for the most part. Again, big thumbs up on the show. The only thing I did not like was probably Nikita Lyons and Adriana Rizzo. Rizzo is extremely green, but Nikita Lyons is also green and apparently out of shape. Booker T yelling about Trick Williams wearing corduroy, which is hilarious because I haven't. That boy wearing corduroy. My granddad used to wear corduroy pants. Oh my God. That's some real 1987 shit, 1988 shit. You wearing corduroy pants. I don't even know if it's true or not. It was just funny. So, let's get into this WWE ID stuff, and then I'll get you guys out of here. So, let's catch up with the WWE ID program and what we know so far. There have been about 10 wrestlers that have been announced. The way the program works is that WWE does not have any restrictions on the wrestlers' bookings and no control over the decisions. So, this was two things that became a big talking point on the wrestling media space, is that WWE was going to prevent certain guys from being picked up by other promoters. They were going to limit guys' bookings, and they were going to make sure their guys won all the time. That's not true. At least for right now, WWE is not control over whether the wrestler wins or loses. I don't see why it would matter anyway, considering it's pro wrestling. Who the hell cares? And they have no restrictions on their booking. The only rule that I've seen so far is that if they're going to sign a contract, they give WWE the right of first refusal. So if AEW or TNA offers one of these talents a contract, they have to go to WWE and say, hey, I've been offered a contract for X, Y, and Z. You guys can match, exceed, or sign me first, or whatever the case may be. And I guess WWE is giving them some kind of stipend, also helping train them and stuff like this. So Apparently, Timothy Thatcher is also involved with this as a coach or a trainer. Remember him from NXT. His gimmick was that he was a wrestling trainer. He was one of the unfortunate cuts from the later days of NXT. I was a fan of Timothy Thatcher. He had that Chris Benoit like look to him, where he looked like an old pirate. You know, like he chewed through ropes, and he's been in all kinds of bar fights. The kind of guy you would see if you was like in 1929 San Francisco digging around for gold. Just look like a regular tough guy. I like Timothy Thatcher. So he's going to be like a coach or a trainer or something like that for this program. Of course, the program has multiple different sites. So maybe he's going to travel. Maybe he's going to go to the PC. Who knows? So again, there's about 10 wrestlers that have been announced. I only know one of them. Of these 10, I think a couple of them came from GCW, one came from Combat Zone, one came from Reality of Wrestling so far. I'm going to go through them, of course. 3 of them actually have appeared on AEW at one point. And this became a pretty big talking point, as I think of the first 4 they announced, 3 of those have been featured at some point in AEW. So we're going to have to address whether they're just snatching guys from AEW like it matters at this point. So here are the 10 wrestlers. One is named Bryce Donovan. Never heard of this guy. 2, Zeta Steel, which came from Combat Zone Wrestling. I never heard of her. 3 is Cappuccino Jones, who I can't believe is a real person. Never heard of him. But he has appeared on AEW before, and so has Bryce Donovan. Number 4 is Jack Summit, a.k.a. Jack Cartwheel. I've seen him in GCW. I thought his name was Jake Cartwheel. Maybe he changed his name? I don't know. I thought his name was Jake Cartwheel. They got Jack Cartwheel. I don't know, whatever. 5 is Zaria Zacher. Never heard of her. Number 6 is Sean Legacy, who came from Pro Wrestling Noah. Number 8, or is that 7? I lost count. Sam Holloway, who I don't have no idea who that guy is either. Another guy from GCW, Marcus Mathers, who looks like a deathmatch wrestler, but I don't think he is. But he looks familiar, but I don't think I've ever seen him in GCW. Ice Williams, who is a black wrestler from Reality of Wrestling. I think I've seen him on Reality of Wrestling before. And the last guy, It's Gal. I have no idea who It's Gal is. I know that he got a lot of attention for being Jewish and being proudly pro-Jewish. And of course, people attacked him as being a Zionist. I know that much. So, of these people, I think 10 names. Okay. Of all of these names, 3 have appeared on AEW before. Bryce Donovan, Cappuccino Jones, and Jack Cartwheel. This led to a lot of people saying that, they're just watching AEW undercard shows and picking these guys up. Now, again, 2 of the 3 guys I've never heard of. But Jack/Jake Cartwheel, I've seen that guy everywhere. I've seen him in GCW shows. I've seen him on AEW, like Collision. I've seen him in other indie shows. I've seen Jack Cartwheel. I've seen him in NWA. I've seen the guy everywhere. Now, some of these people I've never seen before in my life. But Cartwheel, yeah, I've seen him before. I've even seen him in person, if I remember correctly. The idea that WWE is just kind of stealing ideas, stealing guys from AEW, is kind of pointless considering these guys were not contracted with AEW. They were just doing shots for AEW. They were going in there working as jabronis. That would be like saying, TNA stole Frankie Kazarian from WWE back in the day. It's like, no, well, he technically kind of was under contract, but it's not like anybody cared when he left. You never saw Kazarian on Raw or SmackDown. It's not like these guys were in the middle of a storyline or something like that and they got snatched over to WWE. So it's just a pointless argument that AEW fans want to bait people into. It's stupid and ridiculous. But I have no idea who these people are. When I thought they were talking about bringing in indie wrestlers, I kind of thought they were going higher than some of these guys. Like, there are some really great indie wrestlers out there. One of whom, right on the tip of my tongue, is Calvin Tankman. He should have been the number one guy you would have signed if you was looking at signing an indie wrestler. Calvin Tankman should have been number one. He's fantastic. He's a big dude, but he can move and he's got stamina and he has, some charisma. He got personality. I remember seeing him in MLW. I thought he was great. I think he currently wrestles for Deadlock Pro, or as I call it, Dipshit Pro. And there's like a lot of indie wrestlers that I would think of before I would look at some of these people. But then again, I have no idea who these people are. I don't know how good they are. I don't know how bad they are. But apparently these are the people that William Regal and Gabe Sapolsky thought were worthy of being some of the first names mentioned in the WWE ID program. Now, Gabe Sapolsky was another situation that was brought up because a lot of the indie wrestling fans, they hate Gabe Sapolsky. Apparently, when he ran Evolve, everybody knows that Evolve had a pipeline to WWE. He made Darby Allin buy his own contract out so he could sign with AEW instead of just letting him go. It was like, I think he said $12,000 or something like that. Which sounds so bad. He was under contract to Evolve and he wanted to get out of that contract and go sign with AEW. I mean, he's investing money. I personally wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have forced him to buy his contract out, especially if it was only like $12,000. I wouldn't have done that, but I mean, business is business. I believe somebody like Ricochet also had to go through something similar when he had signed a contract with Gabe Sapolsky. But this is sort of, this is how business works. I mean, you want to talk about people being pissed off about contracts? Hey, go talk to Santos Escobar about that deal he signed with Lucha Underground. I mean, my God, you talk about a guy who was angry about his contract. Go ask him about that. Go ask the Revival about their WWE contracts and, how what it took to get them out of that. And sometimes people have to surrender, like to get out of a WWE contract, you have to, buy your way out. You also have to surrender like royalties and some other things. That's what it took to get the Revival out of their contract. So what Gabe Sapolsky did, while not my favorite as a somewhat fair YouTuber, I always get, attacked for being pro-business. You're always on the side of the company. Not always. I think that some things that the companies do are unfair. I think if you're an indie wrestler, you shouldn't be under contract and have to pay a guy $10,000 to get out of a contract. I mean, what's the likelihood you're even being paid $10,000? So, but I don't know what the nature of the contract was. So, but a lot of people have, they're negative because it's WWE for starters. They're negative because Gabe Sapolsky is involved. They hate William Regal now. They think he's a traitor, not a traitor, a trador. And it's a lot of negativity around this program. I don't see why there needs to be any negativity around it. It's not like the world is changing. Nobody has any idea who these people are. I don't think this is going to make or break anybody's company. We don't know really what it'll look like in a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever. Over time, I'm sure this thing is going to evolve and we're going to have a better idea of what kind of program it is in a year or so. But right now, it's just getting started. This is an opportunity for a lot of young wrestlers. I'm assuming they're young. I didn't look up how old they were. I didn't do a great deal of detail in some of them. But I know that Jack Cartwheel, man, oh boy. He is, why AEW didn't sign him, the answer would probably be because there's 400 other guys on that roster that does the same stuff. His whole gimmick is that he does cartwheels. I really hope that whatever they do in this program stops him from doing all these dumbass cartwheels. It's so frustrating. I hate that. And one guy is literally a coffee gimmick. That Cappuccino Jones. He does a coffee gimmick. Like, this stuff is ridiculous, bro. there is some really ridiculous shit going on here. Like, I hope WWE can fix it. But, you know, we don't know if these guys are actually going to make it or not. I don't think that these are the cream of the crop in terms of indie wrestlers. They're just indie wrestlers that I guess WWE was impressed by, or the recruits were impressed by. And the idea is that they're prospects, meaning that they're not a big deal yet. If they were going to sign somebody who is I don't want to say higher level indie wrestler, I would imagine it wouldn't be to an ID program. It would be directly to NXT. You know, that's what I would imagine. So a lot of people are tripping out for no reason. It's just a program to help young wrestlers do more than cartwheels, drink coffee, and end up in really bad circumstances. And maybe they'll become stars later. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to you guys later.